Hey, this is Patrick with Top Tier Top Lane Guides. I'm really happy with the traction my last video received. I'm kind of inspired that so many of you would sit through 6 minutes of a low quality webcam video for the sake of what I hope is at least a new idea that can prove practically useful, or at the very least give you a new perspective. I've been sitting on the idea of video making for quite some time, so I have a lot of ideas that I want to share with you. You can expect 2 videos a week for at least a couple more weeks as I get some of these most important ideas out, deal with some really pervasive misconceptions and the like. Past that, we'll see. I'm not committing to anything without knowing I have actual quality concepts for the video because I'm not here to waste anyone's time. With that being said, let's get into it. You might have heard the term incomplete game knowledge before. Like many terms in the league that are unofficiated, it can be used to mean any number of things. For the purposes of my coaching clients, however, it's my belief that it has very one concrete term, or at least the term that I use it in. Incomplete game knowledge is just that, incomplete. It means you don't have complete game knowledge. This most commonly manifests itself as copying pro summoner spells, runes, and masteries without really knowing why. These are easy to copy. You can do it now, go on a website, and if some of the pros run the pages, it must be good enough for you too, right? Well, sort of. There are circumstances where the pros just know something you don't. One thing that comes to mind, really comes to the front of my mind, is the minus damage from minions. Back in the day, Season 4 at the latest, there was a mastery that you could take 2 points into it, and each point would give you -1 damage from, I believe, champion auto attacks, monster attacks, and minion attacks, most crucially. It's a tag most players overlooked, but it was ridiculously busted in lane. Most players took the other option. I can't remember what it was, but it was definitely inferior. Maybe it was percent armor, maybe it was even flat armor, but it sucked compared to the reduced damage from minions. But pros who knew about how the game worked in a more detailed level knew that that would be very strong, and they ran it, and it made trading in lane a nightmare if you didn't have it, and the other person did. And you could just copy it. You could go on pro builds, and you could see, wait, why are all these pros doing that? You could figure out that they're running it, and that might be somewhat obvious, but it was one of those things that just by taking the time to copy the pros, you would have an advantage. But today, it's not really like that. There's not a lot of things that are just like secret little strategies. For the most part, copying a pro is copying someone who's largely playing a different game than you. You have to be accounting for all the factors leading up to why they make that decision for it to actually be useful. I guess it's a slightly dated reference now as we're in the Season 8 preseason, but if you see pro top laners all running scaling HP or armor, would you take it too? Okay, you just got your ass kicked in lane by someone running flat armor because you didn't also copy the pro's playstyle. Even if you did copy their playstyle, you're not in a pro game, and you probably don't need to work within the margin of some extra armor late game as a win condition. If you took the flat armor late game, you probably could have gotten a lot more than 18 more armor at level 18 out of just stomping your lane with the flat armor. Another good example is when I was smurfing in Vayne as Platinum, or smurfing in Platinum as Vayne. Someone told me to get Gwynsu's. And this was when Worlds was going on. Every team had 2 or 3 tanks in Worlds, but in solo queue there weren't any. Ginsu's is good on Vayne when you're dealing 50% more true damage to tanks and reaping those sweet 718 Ardent heals. But if you're 3-shotting people on patch 7.21, it's not better than Infinity Edge and Shiv. This doesn't just apply to builds though. Watching high-level players as someone who doesn't understand the fundamentals can be confusing. He wards here, so I should too. Maybe, but this presents 2 problems. For one, it might actually just not be a good ward in your circumstance. Or 2, and this is the more important one really, without knowing the thought process behind why that player put that ward down means you don't know what circumstance it's appropriate. This means that you aren't gathering data on the effectiveness of this ward in this circumstance and aren't able to extrapolate that information into different similar wards, into jungle timings and patterns. The best case scenario is that they learn a new ward. Okay, I could have told you that in 10 seconds. Control ward the close push to you, yellow trinket the far one. That's pretty much the best default ward configuration possible for side lanes. Obviously, that isn't solved, and pros are going to be doing different things, but if you don't know that, then you might see the pro doing the different thing. You might see him ward out in river because the enemy jungle is a Rammus or Hecarim, and then be confused when someone camps the river brush, and why didn't the pro put the ward closer? Well, you would not know that if you were watching it and you weren't accounting for all of the things the pro's accounting for, which you're probably not. Warding camps is good for post 6 Eve, but if you see a high-level player put that camp ward, you might be neglecting how he manipulates the wave, when his jungle and where his jungle and mid are, and so on before he commits to putting down such a deep ward. Even if you do track all these things, it might be suboptimal because you're in an elo where the jungle and mid aren't going to help you if you get caught out anyway, even if they are pushing. So I'm a big believer in the 80-20 rule of League at mid-diamond and above. That means 80% playing, 20% theory. Low-level players should maintain 90-10 or less, I think. Theory doesn't mean watching meme streams, and playing doesn't mean autopiloting, running the lane until 30 minutes. League is largely a solved game until the highest level, so it's important to learn from those who know more than you if you hope to flourish and take the game seriously. But you have to think for yourself as well, and that's very important and intimately involved with watching these other people. If you're serious about improving, you need to find quality content that teaches you core concepts in a way that best facilitates you applying it in game. And you have to put in the effort to apply it too. That's it. We're done. To recap, be careful when copying pros. It's only useful when you understand why they do what they do. I hope this video helps you see the game in a different light, as this is my ultimate goal here. My next video will be explaining some misconceptions about what scaling really means and why you're so likely to think you outscale and then get your ass kicked late game in gold. Otherwise, look forward to some less theoretical stuff soon, matchup guides and the like. Peace.